right now you're probably listening to me babble away, your eyes are seeing things up here, your mind is probably a little bit focused upon, I wonder who's emailed me, maybe I should check my phone right now, and what's going to happen next. So this silence, this quiet, this kind of solitude, I think is incredibly important for all of us. Not all the time, of course, we don't want to be walking around like zombies, but just to be able to kind of come back to ourselves and know who we are and know what is out there is very, very important. And I try to create that in the photographs I make.
You have told many times that Bill Brandt profoundly influences you. In which way he does that?
It goes back to what you just said. I mean, there are many ways, but one way is that he used to use a lot of black in his photographs. He would create whole areas that had nothing except black, which was a way, again, to invite an audience, the viewer, into those shadows and to live in those shadows. The whole format didn't have to be filled up with details. He influenced me in his use of kind of chiaroscuro contrast. So he didn't mind having complete white, complete black. He didn't need, the Ansel Adams zone system where there were details all the way through. Both are fine. Ansel Adams is great. Having all these details is amazing. It's not for me. It wasn't for Bill Brandt. And somebody looks at a Bill Brandt photograph or a Mario Giacomelli, and there's hardly any grey. It's all black and white. There's a lot of contrast. So it's a kind of a personal, subjective proclivity as to which tonality, a palette that we want to enter. Bill Brandt photographed at night, of course, back in the 30s. He photographed the bombed out areas of London when they were in the blackout during the Second World War. He went up to the north of England and photographed the industrial areas of Lancashire and Yorkshire, where I came from. At the time when I first started photography, I always thought photography was something of an escape. Photographs should be beautiful, inspirational. I photographed everything that was pretty, landscape. It took me a while to come back around and see that beauty is very much in the mind of the beholder. And I looked at Bill Brandt's work and I realized that what I'd been living in, this industrial area of northwest England, was actually exquisitely beautiful in its own way. And I went back and photographed that. I started photographing power stations because of the forms and the beauty, but some of that was inspired by Bill Brandt's ability to embrace all subject matters. So, there are many ways I can go on about Bill Brandt. He's a very influential photographer for me.
Kenna, I don't know if you know that, but he has a beautiful series called Confessional series. Have you seen that? Well, this is very new for me and for everybody. I had at the gallery and I took him to party photo with those beautiful Confessional series. And I would love to ask you why you started that series, which is, as we were talking last night, it's such a beauty and silence and decadence and beautiful, beautiful series. Can you talk about that, please?
So I am known as a landscape photographer. But like I think most photographers, I have many, many interests. So I photograph many, many different subject matters also. I have briefly alluded to my early religious background. I had a commission to photograph in Italy, chiefly the landscape around Reggio Emilia, which I did, but in Italy it rains a lot in the winter, and so often I would seek refuge in the churches. I was waiting for the rain to go away sometimes. And I began to photograph the religious iconography that I could see, crucifixes, Virgin Marys, the Holy Ghost, all sorts of these things that I'd been brought up with. And I began to have an interest in these old confessional boxes. These are places that, as a child, they were quite frightening for me. Every week I had to go into one and confess my sins that I would, have to make up. Usually they were impure thoughts, and whatever else that we got up to. But every week, we'd have our confession, and then I'd feel completely relieved. And I never knew I was relieved. Just I didn't have to do it again for a week, or because actually something had happened. And it occurred to me when I began to photograph these boxes that inside these boxes, so many secrets had been revealed, so much personal information, biography had been expressed. And the priest was on one side, and the penitent was on the other side. The priest was hidden in behind a cloth. And so much of my work, as I've said, is about what is hidden, about the kind of the stories, the traces, what has gone behind, the memories in places. This really fascinates me. So I began to be interested in some of the same ways as I was interested in power stations, kind of the differences and the similarities in the same form. In watchtowers that I photographed in Nazi concentration camps. Again, that was fascinating for me, and the kind of the differences and the kind of gruesomeness of it. And confessionals, they're very beautiful handmade objects, and yet inside you have a feeling that they're repositories of memories, repositories of secrets, and therefore quite potent somehow. Again, comes back a little bit to the stage that I like to think about. I often photograph scenes without people, scenes where people have been, played, worked, have activities, and when they're not there, there's a kind of a residual atmosphere that's left behind. And this residual atmosphere, I find, is in the confessionals. And so I began to work on a series. Not like almost every project I do, it just naturally evolves. I don't say, I want to do a series on this. I just begin to photograph, and then I go back and I re-photograph, and then I go back again and I re-photographed again. So I made maybe 50 or 60 studies of confessionals, but the Catholic Church in Italy did not want me to publish them or show them or anything. I had to sign all sorts of waivers, I have to give them my firstborn. So I stopped completely. And then I had a publisher in Reggio Emilia who was very interested in this series of work and managed to persuade the Catholic Church in Italy to allow me to photograph again. So I continued. Now I have maybe 120 different studies of different confessional boxes in and around Reggio Emilia. It's a fascinating project for me. You see them on their own, and you can kind of wander into the confessional box yourself, as in a landscape, and kind of think about who you are and what you've done. Or you can see them as a whole grid, which is also fascinating because there are so many interesting similarities but differences between the different structures.
And the last question is, you are always saying that you can photograph one day and live the rest of your life printing. And I would like to ask you why you like printing so much, how you handle the negative and the possibilities of the negative, and what do you think about digital prints, digital photography?
I'll start from the end. I mean, digital photography is wonderful for 99% of photography. I think it's just so fast and easy. You see what you're getting. You can put it on the computer. You don't have to deal with darkroom and chemicals and smells, and it's a very, very fast, easy process. So for most photography, I think it's absolutely fantastic. For me personally, digital photography is terrible. For all the reasons that everybody loves it, I can't stand it. I don't like things that are fast. I don't like things that are too in focus. I don't like to see instant results. It's just too easy for me. I've played with it. I've photographed with digital cameras. I've got the results, and they're beautiful. I've made digital prints, and I think, this is not me. It just doesn't work for me. I like things to be more difficult somehow. I can't explain it too much, but if we talk about the darkroom, perhaps it will reveal something to it. So I've been printing for many, many years. I love printing. Printing for me is a highly subjective rendering of a negative. It's as Ansel would say, it's the performance of the negative. It's when you've created all the music, you've written all the score, you have it, and then you actually perform it. And it's so malleable, it's so subjective, it's like creating sculpture. So I can spend 3, 4, 5 hours on one negative, just playing with it, moving things around, making things darker, lighter, changing the contrast, the chemicals, and there's all sorts of things. The more you get into it, it's like playing a musical instrument. The more you know the musical instrument, the more you can have subtleties in what you're producing. So for me, being in the darkroom, it's solitude. it's a conversation with me and the negative and the print. It's the realization of something that I may have photographed 10, 20, 30 years ago. Sometimes I return to very old negatives. Negatives that I didn't realize at the time that I liked, and now 30 years later I do like them. Sorry, I forgot the question actually.
That's the question. And
Yeah.
photography and your printing.
Yes, yes. So digital, I mean, I look at digital prints and they don't do it for me, personally. I don't like them. I don't have any digital prints on my wall. They're like posters for me. But it's completely personal. And I think that's what's fundamentally important, is that, you know, people keep saying, well, you know, analog, digital, you know, which is the best, and why would you do this, why would you do that? You just have to go with what is good for you. You know, if you choose a musical instrument, it's not like, well, is the oboe better than the guitar or a drum set, or it's, you know, is this particular pencil better than that particular pencil? It doesn't matter. It's what's inside. So my latest book is on Holga, which is this plastic camera that's worth nothing. And you have to put tape around it, and you have no idea what you're getting. But I've been using this Holga camera for years and years, and you could produce amazing results from this absolutely nothing, low technology, you know, plastic lens. It's nothing to do with the camera. It's all, I mean, it has something to do with the camera, obviously, because that's the result is based upon the technology. But it's also it's in the head, it's in the heart, it's in the soul, it's in the person, it's in your vision. That's much more important to me than whether it's digital or analog.